Hello, everybody. This is Haidar Kasri talking to you. Today, we are taking a free IELTS online lecture, which will begin in less than half an hour. And speaking skills. So I just want, okay, so prepare your questions if you have any. Hello, everybody. This is Haidar Kasri talking to you. Today, we are taking a free IELTS online lecture, which will begin in less than half an hour. And speaking skills. So I just want, okay, so prepare your questions if you have any. The first thing we will do is to explain how to write an essay. After that, we are going to explain how to write task one. Then we are going to explain how to write a letter, the letter, and also we are going to explain how to punctuate, punctuation. Then after that, we will move to speaking. While explaining, please, and please prepare your questions. So kindly prepare your questions while explaining. If you have any. The first thing we will do is to explain how to write an essay. After that, we are going to explain how to write task one. Then we are going to explain how to write a letter, the letter, and also we are going to explain how to punctuate, punctuation. Then after that, we will move to speaking. While explaining, please, and please prepare your questions. So kindly prepare your questions while explaining. If you have any. The first thing we will do is to explain how to write an essay. After that, we are going to explain how to write task one. Then we are going to explain how to write a letter, the letter, and also we are going to explain how to punctuate, punctuation. Then after that, we will move to speaking. While explaining, please, and please prepare your questions. So kindly prepare your questions while explaining. If you have any. The first thing we will do is to explain how to write an essay. After that, we are going to explain how to write task one. Then we are going to explain how to write a letter, the letter, and also we are going to explain how to punctuate, punctuation. Then after that, we will move to speaking. While explaining, please, and please prepare your questions. So kindly prepare your questions while explaining. If you have any. The first thing we will do is to explain how to write an essay.
شو تريدين؟
After that, we are going to explain how to write task one. Then we are going to explain how to write a letter, the letter, And also we are going to explain how to punctuation. Then after that, we will move to speaking. While explaining, please, and please prepare your questions. So kindly prepare your questions while explaining. If you have
Okay. Mr. Yasser Hisham, because I haven't started yet. Okay.
explain how to write your mistakes.
C'entra niente.
After that, we are going to explain how to write. That's one. Then, so kindly prepare your questions while explaining.
Okay. Mr. Yasser Hisham, because I haven't started yet. Okay.
Explain how to write your mistakes.
C'entra niente.
After that, we are going to explain how to write.
Okay, everyone, can you hear me well? Hello, everyone. I'm just checking the sound. Can you hear me well, please?
Yes, very well.
Okay.
Yes, very well.
Thank you very much. We are just waiting for less than 20 minutes to start our lecture in order to give the opportunity for the others to join us. The lecture will start at 11 and we are going to explain, as we said, how to write the essay of the IELTS task 2. Then we'll explain how to write the figure, how to write the diagram also. After that, we will explain how to write the letter. And this is for, I mean, task 1 for the general IELTS. Then after that, we will explain the punctuation, how to punctuate. It's something very easy, but it needs more focus. Then after that, at the end, we will explain some of the speaking skills. You may write notes if you like. You may just re-watch the lecture on my YouTube channel. You may also, if you like, just record it. Just record the lecture. It's okay. If you have any questions about the writing or the speaking, do not hesitate asking. Do not hesitate asking, and I will ask you to ask me questions if you have. I will give some time for the questions. For each skill we explain. If you have any questions about the writing or speaking, do not hesitate asking. Do not hesitate asking, and I will ask you to ask questions if you have. I will give some time for the questions for skill discipline. Okay, everyone, let's talk a bit about the IELTS. Uh, in the IELTS, you need to have the level of intermediate, we call it in British English, which is B2, and that is the best level to start your IELTS journey. In B2, or let's say the intermediate, you need to broaden your horizon. You need to have more vocabulary words. You need to have more key language also, and also you need to focus on the language itself. You need to use the first or the second class language, and the best one to be used here is the first class language. For example, I will give you an example here. Some words in English have high band score in the IELTS, while others have low band score. You can't use the third class language at all. And that is the unofficial language. In other words, we say also the slang or the street language because it's something slang. It's something slang. Just like in Arabic, when you when you write something or when you speak to a manager of, let's say, for example, in some meeting or some conference, you cannot use your street language at all. You need to use the official one. I will give an example about that. For example, if you use hot, hot could be used in both the slang and the official, but we have uncommon words to be used. For example, if you use sweltering, for example, it's an uncommon word. It's not widely used. So in this case, you are going to get a good high band. Sorry, a good band score, high band score. Okay, so you need to focus on these simple things because they make the change. They really make the change here. Okay, in 10 minutes, we are going to start our lecture. Yes, Miss Hiba. Miss Hiba Karim, yes, you may ask.
السلام عليكم.
Alaykum assalam.
Now I join lecture.
Yes, we are starting in 9 minutes precisely because the lecture will start at 11.
Ah.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Yes, we haven't started anything. You may ask. Okay, don't worry, we haven't started anything
السلام
yet.
عليكم. I listen to you.
Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Haidar.
Alaykum assalam.
Good evening for everyone.
Good
My
evening.
name is Ethir. My name is Ethir Muhammad Ali. I'm master degree. I graduated from UTM from Malaysia, and previously I did the IELTS exam in Malaysia. Actually, I got overall 6 score. And I'm preparing for the PhD. Hopefully, we will get the advantage today from your lecture, and I'm so happy. And for this lecture about the IELTS, because in Iraq, you know, the IELTS exam is a little bit the lessons and the lectures is how I can say to you is. Rarely, actually, is rarely in Iraq because this exam is difficult little bit, and I'm really appreciate for this lecture today. We need from you to concentrate on the reading, on the writing, also because in the PhD, I think so they want from us above 6 score. And I'm thinking to register on Europe countries, inshallah. So we appreciate for you.
Thank you very much. We are really glad and happy, and it's an honor for us to see you here with us. Thank you. By the way, I was a lecturer in Malaysia University. I was in Sri Lang Limkok Wing. I was a lecturer.
You mean in the China? This is this university?
No. It's Lim Kok Wing. The owner of the university, the investor we call him, is half Chinese and half Malaysian.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good, very good. And previously you did the IELTS exam also?
I've been training the IELTS for around 15. No. It's in Malaysia.
Yeah. What's this brand? What's the overall score you got it?
No. I did not do the IELTS. I did not do the IELTS recently, but I was a lecturer. I was a lecturer in the university.
I know. No, I know. But what's the overall score for the IELTS exam you did? You did it before?
That was
IELTS
a
exam?
long time ago. That was a long time ago.
What's the score you got it?
8.5.
Oh, 5.
Yes. 8.5. 8.5.
8.5, 8.5. That's good. Very
Yes.
good. Very good. Very good. That's good. Actually, I thought today there's a lot of participants, but till now it's 11. I don't know why.
8.5. Yes. 8.5. 8.5.
8.5. That's good. Very good. Very good. Very good. That's good. Actually, I thought today there's a lot of participants, but till now it's 11. I don't know why.
Because I'm transmitting the lecture live on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, because I think yesterday you did announcement, but you didn't tell the people about the ID meeting. So maybe they didn't show the announcement for the ID meeting today.
I told a lot of people that I'm going to write the ID, the passcode, or the link. Sorry, and the link on a post.
Mm. Actually, I was so happy about this lecture today because IELTS lectures here in Iraq is so it's really
Thank you very
not
much.
popular.
I told a lot of people that I'm going to write the ID, the passcode, or the link on a post.
Actually, I was so happy about this lecture today because previously I suffered a lot till I get this score 5.5. Sorry, 6 in IELTS exam. I entered to ELS Institute in Malaysia, and
Yes,
I
know it.
was paying, and I paid around $700 monthly till I improve my language.
That's too much.
Yeah, too much. ELS Institute is very expensive in Malaysia because
I know
it's
it.
very
I
good.
know it very well.
Yeah, it's very good, but it is expensive, so expensive. You know, the English need more practice. So I finished my master since 2 years ago, and because now in Iraq everyone is speaking Arabic and don't do practice in English, I started to forget. Yeah, it's very good, but it is expensive, so expensive. You know, the English need more practice. So I finished my master since 2 years ago, and because now in Iraq everyone speaking Arabic and don't do practice in English, I started to forget.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You just need to acquire the language, and that's the most important point here.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
شو ما يعجبني شو عن العراقيين دول بعد ما حاجوهم.
Okay, please. Okay, please, everyone. I just want you to mute your mics, please, because I will start explaining. Thank you very much. After explaining each important point, I will ask you. Okay, I will ask you, and if you have any questions, you may ask. Okay. We have Ms. Huda. Yes, please mute your mic. Thank you. I just want you to mute your mics, please, because I will start explaining. Thank you very much. After explaining each important point, I will ask you. Okay, I will ask you. Okay. Okay, everyone, we are going to start right now. I just want you to confirm that you can see the share on the screen. Can you see the share on the screen?
Yeah. Yes. But
Okay.
can you present all the screen? Just the slides now show on the screen.
I unfortunately I can't because it will affect the transmission on the YouTube.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, it's okay. No.
Essay. How to write an essay. That's the most important thing. How to write an essay. We write an essay by using the indented Y, not the block. In the indented Y. In the indented Y, we leave a space of 2 words of the first line for each paragraph in our essay. While in the block Y, we leave a space of 2 words of the first line for the first paragraph only. Then in the other paragraphs, we just start from the very first beginning of the line. Nota bene, which means a note. If you use both Ys in one essay, you might be deducted a lot of points. It's better and more skillful to use the indented Y. Now, what's an essay consisted of? It's consisted of the prologue, which means the introduction, and that is usually 1 paragraph, the plot, which means the body, and that is usually 2 paragraphs, the epilogue, which means the conclusion, which is the end of the essay, and it's usually 1 paragraph. Now, things to avoid using in the essay. Do not use I, my, we, our in the body. In the body. Don't use every something, no something, all something. For example, everyone, no one. For example, all Iraqis, because they mean an absolute case, and that is impossible. You may use a huge number of, a lot of, or any suitable use instead. Okay, everyone? Number 3. Don't give any percentage or any specific number without relating it to an actual study, survey, or report. Number 4, which is not written here, do not abbreviate in your writing. Never. For example, don't write his, H-E''S. No, write he is as 2 separated words. And that's really important in the writing because you are writing officially. Now, let's come to explain how to write the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. If you have this statement, many museums charge for admission while others are free. Then you've got this question. Do you think the advantages of charging people for admission to museums outweigh the disadvantages? Outweigh here means, let's say, for example, cover, overshadow also you may use, which means cover. Okay, now let's come. The first thing you will do is that you will paraphrase the statement. This is the statement, and you are going to paraphrase it. What's the meaning of paraphrase? Paraphrase means rewriting the statement in other words, but giving the same precise meaning. Let's come here. Many museums charge for admission while others are free. Some museums have an admission charge while some do not. If you just notice here, some museums have an admission charge while some do not. Gives the same precise meaning of the statement, which is in yellow. Many museums charge for admission while others are free, but in other words, it's written in other words. After that, you write your opinion. In my opinion, in my point of view, whatever. Then when writing your opinion, you need to answer this question. The question they ask you, Do you think the advantages of charging people for admission to museums outweigh the disadvantages? You need to answer this question after writing your opinion. I mean, after writing the expression of, in my opinion. But when you answer it, don't say yes, don't say no, don't say I think, don't say I believe, because I think and I believe will give this as the same meaning as in my opinion or in my point of view. And that will be a point against you. The drawbacks, look at the answer, the drawbacks of an entrance fee. Drawbacks here means disadvantages, but this is a high band word score. Drawbacks means disadvantages. It's a high band word score. Of an entrance fee are eclipsed means covered by its benefits. In the sense, that means the reason. After writing the answer of the question, you need to give reasons. In the sense that the income will be plot back, that means will be exploited, will be employed also, but plot back is a high band where this scope into operation and development of the museums. Let us repeat. How to write the introduction. The first thing you do is to paraphrase the statement. Okay. After paraphrasing the statement, you need to answer the question. When you answer the question, do not write I agree, I disagree. Don't write I think, I believe. Don't write yes, no, whatever. No, because you wrote in my opinion, then you give it as a sentence, not as an answer. The drawbacks of an entrance fee are eclipsed by its benefits in the sense that the income will be plot back into operation and development of the museums. This is a full thesis statement. Let's say just like saying a perfect introduction. Okay, after the introduction, you need to write the body. Since it talks about advantages and disadvantages, the body, as we said, is divided into two paragraphs. One of them will be about the advantages. The other one will be about the disadvantages. Which one comes first? You are free. You may start with the advantages as the first paragraph in the body, or you may start with the disadvantages as the first paragraph of the body. Let's come to the body to explain it. A major disadvantage of an admission fee is the possibility of reducing the number of visitors. How to write the body of the paragraph? The first thing to do is that you start with the heading, which we call also the topic sentence, which you may also say the main sentence of the body, the first one. A major disadvantage of an admission fee is the possibility of reducing the number of visitors. That's the head sentence of the body. After that, you support this sentence. How to support it? You have two sentences to support it. You may write sentences answering the questions how and why, or any of them. Let's come here. The sentences which follow this one are answering the question how. Museums house exhibitions and artifacts of a great educational and historical value. If the chief aim of a museum is to introduce the local community, admission should be free to the public and visitors. Let's repeat. How to write the paragraph of the body. For example, here the first paragraph of the body is talking about the disadvantages. So you need to write the heading sentence, the topic sentence, the main sentence, which is about the disadvantage here. After that, the sentences which follow answering whether the question how or the question which starts with why or both of them. And this is what we did here. How a museum's house exhibitions and artifacts of a great educational and historical value. If the chief aim of a museum is to introduce the local community. Admission means entering. Admission should be free to the public and visitors. Then, if you don't have more explanation, and it's better is to give an example. When you give an example, avoid writing I, my, we, our. Avoid writing these pronouns. Let's take an example here. Take some folk museums in Hong Kong, which preserve historic relics and display folk costumes. For example, admission to these folk museums, which are often monuments, is free of charge. If they had charged an entrance fee, many might have turned to other activities. Now, after finishing that, we move to the second paragraph. The second paragraph of the body will be the opposite of the first one. Since we've talked about the disadvantages in the first paragraph, we will talk about the advantages in the second paragraph. Please, everybody, just mute your mics. Just mute your mics, please. Yes, please mute your mics. You will have time to ask. Okay. Now here, in this one, we are talking about the disadvantages. Granted, an entrance fee. Okay, please, everyone, mute your mics. Please, Ms. Nada, mute your mic. Ms. Nada, please mute your mic. And also, I think Ms. Huda also mute your mic. Okay. Thank you very much. Please mute your mics. Okay. Because there is a noise which affects. Okay. Thank you very much. Granted, an entrance fee might have a negative effect on the admission figures, but an income is favorable to museums in terms of operation. Museums feature educational exhibitions at times, and this could not have been done without a sum of money expended on hiring professionals and buying equipment. The Hong Kong Space Museum, for instance, means, for example, has monthly exhibitions on different shoes, and professional docents are employed to take visitors on a guided tour around the museum. This example speaks volumes about how a reasonable admission charge is advantageous to the operation of a museum. Okay. Now, before continuing, you may ask questions. Who has a question? Who has a question? Don't hesitate asking. Who has a question? Don't hesitate asking. Nobody? Okay. Since nobody has a question, I'm going to continue. Now we come to the conclusion. The first thing we did here, we wrote in conclusion. Okay. Then after in conclusion, you need to repeat your opinion. The disadvantages of an admission fee are overshadowed by the benefits of paying from a stable source of income. That is your opinion which you have written. But in other words, we said to paraphrase it. After that, we have a nice expression here. Therefore, having weighed up the pros and cons, I'm convinced that this is the nice expression which I told you about. Therefore, having weighed up the pros and cons, I'm convinced that that's the nice expression which I told you about. Then you repeat your opinion with a piece of advice. Here, the piece of advice is regarded as an assertion to your opinion with the reasons. I'm convinced that the museums should charge an entrance fee for the sake of operation and development. Let's repeat. How to write the conclusion. Firstly, write in conclusion. Then you rewrite your opinion, but in different words. That means to paraphrase your opinion. The disadvantages of an admission fee are overshadowed by the benefits occurring from a stable source of income. Then you write an expression like this one, which I have written. Therefore, having weighed up the pros and cons, I'm convinced that. After this expression, you write your opinion in a way just like you are advising. Advising means giving an opinion. Museums should charge an entrance fee. Then you give the reason for the sake of operation and development. Pay attention. The reason you give should be the same reasons that you mentioned in the introduction. Here, okay? Now, we have the briefly explanation, which I'm going to repeat. How to write the essay. You need to divide it into introduction, body, and conclusion. In the introduction, first paraphrase statement. Please mute your mics. Would you please mute your mics? Please, everybody. Just mute your mics.
قد اضرب على صدرك ايش قد يلا اوكي جاوبي ايش قد اي
Please everyone mute your mics.
سكت عمي سكتي
Sorry.
هذا محاضرة 3 ساعات واحد يشتغل بالكهرباء
Okay.
والنتل شو
Just
يسوي
a
له؟
minute.
غلط
Okay, I'm going to remove.
غلط
I'm going to remove some because we cannot give the lecture. Please, everyone, mute your mics. Okay, let's go on now. Okay. Okay. Well, let's repeat. Let's re-explain it briefly. Firstly, the introduction. In the introduction, you paraphrase, right? In my opinion, in my point of view, something like that to show your opinion. Then after that, you answer the question, which is under the statement and the question and the entire question of the essay. Then after that, when you write your opinion should be with a reason. After writing that, you will start with the body. The body is divided into 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph and the second will be one of two choices, whether it will be with your opinion or the opposite of your opinion. Then the second paragraph will be the opposite of the first one. Then you will start with the conclusion. After that, in the conclusion, the first thing you will do, I wrote in conclusion. You may write to conclude, but in conclusion is more common in this kind of writing. You write in conclusion. After that, you repeat or paraphrase your opinion, which you mentioned in the introduction. Then, after writing your opinion, we have some good expression here. Therefore, having weighed up the pros and cons, I'm convinced that after this expression, you rewrite your opinion as a piece of advice with the reasons that you have mentioned in the introduction. And that will be an excellent or a perfect essay. At least it will be VG, which means very good. Okay, now, you may ask questions if you like. Do not hesitate asking questions. Okay? Do not hesitate asking a question.
العفو أستاذ حيدر الثاني.
Just a minute, sorry, Mr. Haida Fadel.
نعم.
Yes, please.
احنا بدنا نحكي هسه عن الإساي بشكل عام، يعني نقدر نحكي عن رسائل
No,
التوصية
sorry,
أو
Mr. Haida Fadel. Mr. Haida Fadel, would you please use your English language to ask?
Okay.
Yes, please.
And now we talk about the essay.
Just a minute, sorry, Mr. Haida Fadel.
So could we speak about the letters that we need to
Mr. Haida Fadel, would you please use
to make it to to get
yes, please.
like what is I don't know what it mean. The scholarship about the letters that we need to
Would you please use
to make it to get a scholarship about the
Mr. Haida Fadel,
that
sorry,
we need
Mr. Haida Fadel,
to,
would you please just listen to me? Mr. Haida Fadel,
to make it
this
to-
lecture is about the essay of the IELTS. The essay of the IELTS, we have three ways, which are regarded as the ideal ones. We honestly have more than three ways, but this one is the best and the easiest one. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm sorry to tell you here that you may ask those who let's say who have for example some special offices for
Mhm.
what you want. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, okay. Others who has a question that you may ask those who has a question.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello. Hello, doctor. Dr.
I-
Abbas, yes?
Yes, sir. I just have a question about speaking part of IELTS, not about writing part. It's I just want to know what is mean of cue card. Actually, when I watched YouTube channels or IELTS exam before, I just know there is a cue card. So I just want to know what is mean. The examiner told the
Doctor, we will come to the speaking part. We will come to the speaking part after we finish the writing.
I just want to know. Okay then. Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
yes,
Mhm.
because we want to come to it a step by step. If you have any questions regarding this kind of writing, which is task 2, essay, you may ask it now.
No, thanks. I don't have.
Thank you
Thanks
very
a
much,
lot.
doctor.
No worries.
Okay. Others? To the speaking part after we finish the writing.
Okay then. Okay,
Thank you. Because we want to come others who has a question? Any questions regarding this kind of writing, which is task 2, essay? You may ask it now.
No, thanks. I don't have.
Thank you
Thanks
very
a
much,
lot.
doctor. Okay, others who has a question? After we finish the writing.
Okay then.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, others who has a question? Let's come here regarding this kind of writing, which is task 2, essay. You may ask it now.
No, thanks. I don't have.
Thank you very much, doctor. Okay, others who has a question? Okay, I'm going to share another one
Okay then.
here. Thank you very much. Now, others who has a question? Let's come here. Okay, everyone. Confirm that you can see the share here.
Thanks. I don't have.
Thank you very much, doctor. Okay, others who has a question? Okay, I'm going to share another one
Okay then.
here. Okay, please confirm that you can see the share on the screen in order to start explaining about task number 1 figure. Okay, everyone. Confirm that you can see the share here.
Yeah, doctor. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
Okay, thank you very much.
clear,
Please,
it's
I'm
a
not a
clear
we can
doctor.
clearly say it.
Please, I'm not a doctor. Okay, I'm just a teacher, just a bachelor in degree. Okay.
No problem. No problem.
Okay, thank you
Because
very
I'm
much.
lecturer in the university, so everyone I say doctor. Sorry.
It's okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now, for example, if you have this question, the table below shows the worldwide market share of the notebook computer market for manufacturers in the years 2006 and 2007. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features. Comparisons were relevant. Write 150. Then you have 2007, the market share by percentage 2. So the table gives information on, the table shows information on, the table illustrates information on. Then you rewrite the statement here, not all of it, some of it. Let's say the words which you need. The table shows information on the worldwide market share of the notebook computer market for manufacturers in the years 2006 and 2007. Like you may also paraphrase, or let's say write the synonyms of some other words here. You are free. Okay, the table gives information on, and we continue. After that, what we do is that we start explaining. Don't forget, I just want you to remember this point. When you write task 1, you can't write your opinion at all. You can't write an opinion at all. Task 1 means one thing. It means that you are interpreting the figure, for example, or the diagram into words, into writing, no more, no less. That is task 1 of the IELTS writing. Okay, let's come to the explanation. In both years, that means 2006 and 2007, HP was clearly the market leader. Here, the market leader. Why? It's got the highest percentage here. Selling 31.4% of all notebook computers in 2006 and slightly more, slightly means a bit. Words like that will increase your points in the writing. And slightly more, 34% in 2007. Now we come to compare it to the other competitors, the nearest or the closest competitors to it. This is a greater market share than its two closest competitors, Dell and Acer added together. Why? Because Dell and Acer, here if you count 16 with 11 will be less than 31, 20 with 10 will be less than 34. Okay, now let us repeat. In both years, that means 2006 and 2007, HP was clearly the market leader, which means it leads the highest percentage in selling its products, selling 31% of all notebook computers in 2006 here, and slightly more, 34% in 2007. Then we come to the comparison here. We compare it to its closest competitors, which are Dell and Acer. You may also just compare it to Dell, it's okay. This is a greater market share than its two closest competitors, Dell and Acer added together. That means we collected those numbers and they were less than 31. And those two other numbers, they were less than 34. Okay. We move to the second step. Each step you write is a paragraph. You move to the other step, which is the other paragraph. Now we start explaining about Dell and Acer because we have mentioned them here as competitors. So we need to explain about them as competitors too. Here, Dell increased its market share from 16.6% in 2006 to 20.2% in 2007. Look at it. Dell increased its market share in from 16.6% in 2006 to 20.2% in 2007. We finished talking about Dell. Now we need to talk about Acer. Acer had a decrease. So we need to have some contrastive expression here. But, whereas, however, here in contrast, why? Because there is a contrast. This one increased, this one decreased. So we need to show this by some linking expression here. In contrast, Acer saw its share of the market decline. Decline here means decrease. It gives the same precise meaning here. Decline means something else, but here means decline, which means decrease. Slightly from 11.6% to 10.7%. Since we have a contrast here between Dell and Acer, we need to write each one in a sentence alone. If we had an increase in both of them, we may talk about both of them together. And instead of in contrast, we may also use some other linking words. For example, and, okay, this is for example indeed. Okay, now, after finishing that, we come to speak about the others. I mean to write about the others. Toshiba, Lenovo, Fujitsu, Siemens, and you have others. We will firstly talk about Toshiba, Lenovo, and Fujitsu, Siemens. The first thing we do is that we need to see decreased. There is an increase in Toshiba's, and there is a decrease in Lenovo's and Fujitsu Siemens. So what we do is that we put the increased ones alone, then we follow that by some contrastive expression with the decreased ones. You may also talk about the decreased ones before the increased ones. You are free. Okay. The other companies listed each had a much smaller share of the market. Toshiba's share increased from 6.2 in 2006 to 7.3% in 2007, whereas Lenovo's decreased slightly from 6.6% to 6.2%. Fujitsu Siemens share more than halved. That means more than the half. From 2006 to 2007. From 4.8% of the market to only 2.3%. Okay, let me repeat this point. Let's repeat it. Now we come here to the other companies. We took Toshiba's, Lenovo's, Fujitsu, Siemens. What happens here, we need to take those which increase to talk about them alone, and to contrast it or contrast them with those which decreased to talk about them alone. We have an increase in one company, that is Toshiba, and a decrease in the two other companies, which are Lenovo and Fujitsu Siemens. So we will talk about Toshiba's market share, and we will contrast it with Lenovo's and Fujitsu Siemens. Okay. After that, the next step, we will take this one, others. Other notebook computer manufacturers accounted for 22.8% of the market share in 2006, more than all companies mentioned, except HP. Look at it, 22.8%. More than Fujitsu Siemens, more than Lenovo, more than Toshiba, more than Acer, more than Dell, but less than HP. You may say there is another expression. More than all the companies mentioned, but less than HP. You may also say, but not HP. But this expression will be a bit weak here. It will be a bit, you may say, slang here. So it's better to use this one. More than all the companies mentioned except HP. However, why? Because there is a contrast. Here, it decreased. However, in 2007, the other companies only made 19.3% of notebook computer sales, less than both HP and Dell. Okay. Now, recommendations. Never write an opinion. It's interpreting the information in the figure into written words. The figure could be a table, could be a graph, could be a chart. Okay, they are all called figures. Okay. Number 2, numbers from 0 to 10 are written in letters. That means are written as words. While numbers from 11 and more and above are written as figures, which means as numbers, unless they occur of the beginning of a sentence. If you write them as of the beginning of a sentence, you need to write them as words, letters. Okay. Number 3, words like slightly, obviously, clearly, etc. Increase your points. That means increase your marks. Number 4, task 1 is a figure or a diagram. If it's a figure, it's usually a comparison. Okay, now, after finishing this way of task 1, who has a question? Don't hesitate asking. Number 4, task 1 is a figure or a diagram. If it's a figure, it's usually a comparison. Okay, now, after finishing this way of task 1, who has a question?
I have one question, please.
Yes, please.
It's about the tables. It's only in, I guess, in academic exam,
academic.
not in. Yes, it's not
Yes.
given in general, right?
No, it's not in the
Okay.
journal. It's in the academic writing. I'll
Okay.
explain. Don't worry, Dr. Abbas. Don't worry. I'll explain the figure. After that,
Question, please.
yes, after that, I'll explain the diagram. Then I'll explain the letter.
Okay then. Thanks again.
Academic.
Yes, it's not given in general, right?
No, it's not in the okay. It's in the academic writing. I'll
Okay.
explain. Don't worry, Dr. Abbas. Don't worry. I'll explain the figure. After that,
Question, please.
yes, after that, I'll explain the diagram. Okay. I'm having a question from Ms. Sama Salim.
Thanks again.
She's asking, what do you mean by letter and figure? Okay. The letter is for the general IELTS. The figure is for the academic IELTS. I'll explain. Okay. After that, yes, after that, I'll explain the diagram. Okay. I'm having a question from Ms. Sama Salim.
Thanks again.
She's asking, what do you mean by letter and figure? Okay. The letter is for the a question. Do not hesitate asking. Academic IELTS. I'll explain. Okay. After that, yes, after that, I'll explain the diagram. Okay. I'm having a question from Ms. Sama Salim.
Thanks again.
She's asking, what do you mean by letter?
I got a question.
Okay. Yes, please. The letter is for the a question. Do
Point
not
number 2, numbers from 0 to 10 are written in a letter. So we mentioned that endless at the end of the point. We mentioned that endless they occur at the beginning of the sentences. So if I need to write in the beginning of sentences in
yes, please.
2006, I write it like a letter or a figure. From 0 to 10 are written in a letter.
Okay.
So
Mr. Haidar Fadl, let me interrupt you here. Okay. If you write it 2006, if you write it at the beginning of a sentence, you need to write it as letters, as words. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Haidar Fadl. Any more questions? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll stop sharing this page and I'm going to share another one. Letters as words. Just a second.
Okay.
Sorry, doctor, can I ask
I'm
you,
not a doctor, please.
sorry, I'm
Okay.
so sorry. I'm so
Yes,
sorry.
okay.
I forgot. Are there any link to register the attendance to get certificate for this lecture? We need it.
It's on YouTube live.
No, I mean you will give us a certificate for the participation in this lecture.
No, no.
Sorry,
I'm sorry. Because I don't have an institute. Okay.
Are there any link to register the attendance?
Yes.
Okay, it's okay.
The institute
Thank
which
you.
the institute which I train in, okay, is
No, I mean
not mine.
you will give us a certificate for the participation in this lecture.
No, no.
Oh, it's okay. No, just how I can tell you, I wanted it for my promotion in my job. Just I wanted certificate.
The
It's
institute,
okay if you can't. It's okay. Thank you so much.
okay, is not mine.
Give us a certificate for the participation in
Okay.
this lecture.
No, no.
Oh, it's okay. No, just how I can tell you, I wanted it for my promotion in my job. Just I wanted certificate.
Okay,
If
sorry.
you can't, it's okay. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Okay. I'm having a question from the engineer here. Explain numbers to about use capital.
How I can tell
Please,
you,
can you
I
give me an
wanted it
example
my
for
promotion
figure and
in my
letter?
job. Just I wanted certificate.
Okay.
It's okay. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Okay. Sorry. Okay. From the engineer. Listen to me. Just a second. We said that numbers from 0 to 10 are written in letters as numbers. 11 and more are written as numbers, figures. But if the numbers are from 11 and more, if the numbers from 11 and more occur, that means come at the beginning of a sentence. That means you need to write them in letters as not as numbers, as words. For example, let's say, for example, a simple example here, 11 students went to school. You can't write 11 here as a number. No, you need to write ELEVEN. Why? Because it occurred as the first word of the sentence. Let's say 2006. If it occurs as the first word of the sentence, 2006, you need to write the entire 2006 as words. Okay? Okay. Now let's come to explain the diagram. How to write the diagram, task number 1 for the academic IELTS 2. Because the academic IELTS, as I told you, could be a diagram, could be a figure. A figure could be a table, could be a graph, could be a chart, could be a bar chart also. Okay, you may also have a map. Okay, let's go on. The diagram. The diagram below shows how raw materials are used to make plastic products. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Let's come here. Look at this diagram. I want you to have a look on this diagram, okay? Look at it. It starts from this arrow, from our refinery, raw material. Then you have a high pressure oven, long molecules of plastic. Then you have a plastic granules. After that, you have injection molder melts plastic and forces it into mold. After that, you will have mold releases a product, then quality controller. You have waste product, packing, and storage in warehouse. Okay. Now, let's come to it, how to start writing it. The first thing you will do, the diagram, or you illustrates, you may say shows, okay, the various stages. The various means different stages, steps you may also say, but stages is a high bandwidth disco here, and the production of plastic items. It shows the various stages in the production of plastic items. We took it from here, and the drawing. Clearly, this is a complex process that requires a range of equipment and machinery and at some stages skilled workers. Here. Okay. Now we come to the second step. We just wrote, we have just written what we are going to talk about. And this is really important. It's just like the introduction in the essay, but don't forget, you can't write your opinion at all. Let's go on here. The second step, we start explaining. Initially, that means firstly, the raw materials have to be transported from the ore refinery, which is written here, to the plant. To the plant means to the location of the factory. For example, on arrival, they are poured into a large drum, and from there they pass into a special oven which heats the material at high pressure so that long molecules of a plastic form, which is mentioned here, mentioned as a hint. Raw material, long molecules of a plastic. Look at the raw material, they are shown here very small. Then look at the long molecules of a plastic, which are shown here and written here. Okay. Now, after that, we move to the next step. The granules are then funneled into a rectangular molder with a narrow end. The molder melts the plastic in order to push it out into a mold. When the plastic has hardened in a mold, the items can be removed and any waste material discarded. Here, let's go on. The last step, before they can be packaged, the finished products have to be checked for any problems. So next they are placed on a belt and observed by an expert. If they pass the inspection, they can be packed into boxes and taken to a warehouse for storage. Okay. After reading the steps for you, let's say the stages for you, let me explain to you what happens here. Here in the diagram, whatever it is, you will be given hints. You will be given hints, and you need to link those hints into some sentences that you need, and the sentences should be coherent in order to have a very good writing, a high band writing, piece of writing. Here, the hints you have from our refinery. Here, that means here, the first step which we talked about, the raw materials. Because from our refinery, we take the oil materials to be poured here into this drum. Then you have this hint, high pressure oven. the other hint, which means the other step, long molecules of plastic, then plastic granules. After that, you have the injection molder melts plastic and forces it into mold. And you have the other steps. Here, what you need to do here is to mention the steps one by one and to express and write what happens in each step. They give you hints, only hints, and the drawing will show you everything. Now, are there any questions here? Are there any questions here? I've got a question from Engineer Shekha to ask about the capitalization. After this piece of writing, I'll start explaining punctuation, which is consisted of capitalization, let's say full stops, also commas, though, and I'm going to explain it. Others?
Please, Mr. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Ms.
I'm
Sama
Sama.
Salim.
Thank you, Mr. Please, Mr. I have a little bit of question. When I see that you leave a space for each paragraph or just paragraph one, the first
No,
paragraph.
I leave a space for each paragraph because for the first line of
Yes.
each paragraph, because we need to use the indented Y in the writing.
In the writing, so we have only 3 paragraph,
You are
4
most
paragraph.
welcome, Ms. Sama Salim.
Okay, we have only 4 paragraph, 3 paragraph. What is the ideal paragraph for this? For answering
Others?
3, 4.
Others? Who has a question here? Don't hesitate asking.
Sir, I want to ask you about the task 1. It is required to write conclusion or
I
just
beg
in
your
the essay?
pardon. Would you please repeat or write your question?
I mean, in this part, in this task, it is required to write the conclusion or just in the task 2, in the essay?
No, here we have no conclusion if you see.
So if I write the conclusion, it is wrong? It's considered wrong?
You can't write a conclusion here because what to write in the conclusion? You are explaining steps.
Okay, thank you.
You are most welcome. Okay. We have a question from Ms. Sama Salem, which says, how many paragraphs should we write? 1 or 2 or 3 paragraphs. Your writing should be at least 3 paragraphs. At least 3 paragraphs. Okay. In some cases, you may write 4, 5, 6 paragraphs. That depends. Others. Do not hesitate asking. Who has a question? Who has a question? Okay. So if you've got no question, I'm going to start explaining punctuation. I just need a couple of minutes to explain the punctuation, to share the page here, to share it on the screen. I'm going to start explaining punctuation. Okay, please, everyone. I just want you to confirm that you can see the share. Can you see the share?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, to share it on the screen, let's start explaining punctuation. The most common punctuation marks in English are capital letters and full stops, question marks, commas, colons, and semicolons, exclamation marks, and quotation marks.
Yes.
In speaking, we use pauses and the pitch of the voice to make what we say clear. Punctuation plays a similar role in writing, making it easier to read. Punctuation consists of both rules and conventions. There are rules of punctuation that have to be followed, but there are also punctuation conventions that give writers great choice. Let's come to the first one, capital letters. How and where to capitalize. For example, B and D and full stops. I will firstly read the yellow words, then give the examples and explain them on the white words. We use capital letters to mark the beginning of a sentence, and we use full stops to mark the end of a sentence. So, we need to capitalize the first letter of the first word in a sentence. Let's come here to the second yellow part. We also use capital letters of the beginning of a proper nouns. What's the meaning of a proper nouns? Proper nouns include personal names like John, Chuck, Mark, whatever. This is number one. Including titles before names. For example, Mr., Mrs., Ms., Doctor, Professor. They are capitalized also. Nationalities and languages. Nationalities, for example, he's Iraqi. I'm Iraqi. The I of Iraqi should be capitalized. We also have languages. I can speak Arabic. I speak Arabic. The A of Arabic should be capitalized since it's a language. Days of the week. Today is a Friday. Tomorrow is Saturday. Friday and Saturday. The F and the S should be capitalized. And months. January, February, all the months, or the first letter of each month should be capitalized. Months of the year. Public holidays as well as geographical places. I'll explain these in the next slide. Let's come here to this one. We went to France last summer. The W of we, since it's the first word. The F of France, since it's a specific geographical place. It's the name of a country. We were really surprised that it was so easy to travel on the motorways. The Football World Cup. The football, the T of the Football World Cup, FWC. Why? Why are these capitalized? Because they symbolize the name, or they represent the name of some specific event. Specific event. When we talk about a specific holiday or a specific event, we need to capitalize the first letter of each word. Pay attention to this point. Prepositions are not capitalized unless they occur at the beginning of a sentence. In, on, at, above, under, beneath. They are not about, around, round. They are not capitalized at all unless they occur at the beginning of a sentence. The is not capitalized. unless it occurs at the beginning of a sentence, like this, the. That's why we capitalized it. Okay, the. Also, this one is capitalized since it's the beginning of a sentence. The next World Cup, W and C, because we are talking about a specific event, which is World Cup, will be held in South Africa. The S and A, because they represent a geographical place, a specific geographical place, a name of a country. In 2006, I of N, because it occurs at the beginning of a sentence. Otherwise, we never capitalize it. It's a preposition. It was held in Germany. Germany means it's a geographical place, a name of a country. Okay. Dr. David James. D of doctor, because it's a title. D and J of David James, because they represent a name, a proper noun. Is the consultant at Leeds City Hospital. L, C, and H, because sorry, because they represent a geographical place, a name of a specific geographical place. They are planning a long holiday in New Zealand. Can she speak Japanese? The next meeting of the group will take place on Thursday. What plans do you have for Chinese New Year? Chinese New Year, C, N, and Y, because it talks about some specific holiday, public holiday. For example, Christmas. Christmas is a specific event. That's why we capitalize the C of a Christmas. Let's come to the other points. We use capital letters for the titles of books, magazines, and newspapers, plays, and music. Oliver is a musical based on the novel Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. The Straits Times is a daily English language newspaper in Singapore. They are performing Beethoven's Sixth Symphony. In addition to closing sentences, we also use full stops and initials for personal names when they symbolize the name by the first letter. The first letter of a name of a person should be capitalized and followed by a full stop. G.W. Doya, David I. Johnston, accountant. Before moving to the other points, is there any question about capitalization? Don't hesitate asking me. Is there a question about punctuation?
Mr. Haida,
Yes, Mr. Haida.
if we talk about city that start with a prefix that AL, like Al Karada or Al Mansur, the A, just the A, it's
No,
we
that's a
capitalize the
special
A.
case. That's a special case. Al Karada, for example, the AL should be capitalized here.
And the K.
The K is optional and it's better to capitalize it.
If we talk about city, okay.
Okay.
Start with a prefix
Yes.
that AL, like
Yes, Miss Athia.
Slide 3. Can you show us slide 3? I have a question.
This one?
Slide 3.
Yes, this is slide 3.
Yeah. This in 2006. Yeah, this in 2006. After 2006, it should be comma, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you are right. But I did not add the comma here
Why?
because I will explain it when we reach the comma. Got the idea?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Because there is a rule in punctuation. and especially in the British English, if you just put the time at the beginning of a sentence, you need to follow it by a comma. Yes. Yes, you are right. Okay. Others? Any other questions?
Mr. Haider, I have a question.
Yes, please, Ms. Sama.
It is about writing task. The tense of each writing task, I think it is in the past, or we can simplify some future. The tense of all task number 1 and number 2. What should we write?
Okay. That depends on the question, but most of the questions are in simple present because they ask about something in general. When you write, you need to put your open. You need to write with something in general, and you may use different tenses here.
Number 1 and number 2. What should we write?
Okay. That depends on the question. Okay, Ms. Sama?
Okay, but what do you mean by different sentence? Yeah, different tenses.
Different
sorry.
tenses. If you need
يعني
to write
have
in different
present
tenses, use
perfect,
it.
past, anything يعني else?
That depends on your piece
Hmm.
of writing.
I see, I
Yes.
see. Okay.
But
okay.
most of the questions are in general.
General, present simple. In fact, they
Most
told me
of the
about
questions, yes.
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 Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank
Especially the essay, task number 2.
you. Okay. Thank you.
You are most welcome. Others?
Past, anything يعني else?
That depends. Others?
I see. Okay.
Okay. Let's move on.
Present simple. In fact, they told me about
Questions, yes.
yes. Okay.
The question marks, they just show us that what we are writing or saying is a question. So we add a question mark at the end. Exclamation marks, you don't need them. Don't use them. Don't use them. Let's move on. Commas. We use commas to separate a list of similar words or phrases. We don't normally use a comma before and at the end of a list of single words. For example, here, look at this example. They traveled through Bulgaria, Slovakia, the Czech Republic, and Poland. We add and before the last item of the list. Whatever the item is, could be a place, could be time, could be something tangible, whatever. Okay, now let's come to the second point here. American English does use a comma in this before and. Okay, sorry, please mute your mics. Mute your mics, please. Okay, thank you very much. We use commas to separate words or phrases that mark where the voice would pause slightly. For example, I can't tell you now. However, all will be revealed tomorrow at midday. When we add a linking expression, we usually follow it by a comma. And most of the contrastive words or linkers are followed by a comma. For example, however, you have although, you have sometimes after whereas, we need to add a comma. Okay, everyone? Now, the second sentence, we had, in fact, lost all of our money. We add 2 commas before and after an extra expression because the origin of the sentence is we have had lost all of our money. When we added, in fact, here as an extra expression, we added a comma before and a comma after. That means we preceded it by a comma and followed it by another comma. Let's see the other one. James, our guide, will accompany you on the boat across to the island. We also added a comma before and a comma after our guide. Why? Because it's an extra expression here, an intervene, something which we added to the original sentence for some reasons. Okay? Now, until this point, any questions? Who has a question? Ask. Who has a question? Ask. Okay. Let's move on. Separating clauses with commas. When main clauses are separated by and or but, we don't normally use a comma if the clauses have the same subject. However, we sometimes use commas if the clauses have different subjects. Let's take examples here. Let's move on. Separating the clauses with commas. They were very friendly and invited us to their villa in Portugal. We did not proceed by a comma. Why? Because the hidden subject after and is they. They were very friendly and they invited us to their villa in Portugal. Same subject. Sentence number 2. Footballers these days earn more money, but they are fitter. Look, after but we have they. They is related to footballers. It refers to footballers. It means the footballers. So it's the same subject. That's why we did not proceed but by a comma. It was an expensive hotel in the center of Stockholm. But we added a comma before but. We preceded but by a comma. Why? Because the main subject is it. And the subject after but is we. So we have different subjects. That's why we added a comma. Okay. Before we go on, I'm having a question here which says about the 8th slide, slide number 8. Why did we capitalize the H of however? Because it's preceded by a full stop. So it means a beginning of a sentence. That's why we capitalized the H. Okay. Now, any questions here? Who has a question about the commas? Again. Who has a question? No questions? Okay. In a British English or in English in general, we put the time of the end of a sentence. The sentence is SVO, subject, verb, object. What comes after the verb is an object. The object could be time with the place. So could be, let's say, could be object 1, 2, and 3. For example, I saw Ahmed. I saw Ahmed in the market yesterday. Why? Subject, verb, I saw. Ahmed, the main object, then it's followed by the place, then the time. If we mention the time at the beginning of a sentence, we need to follow it by a comma. Why? Because that means we change the order of the sentence. Yesterday, comma, I saw Ahmed in the market. Okay, this is what happens. This is what happens. If we mention the time of the beginning of a sentence, we need to follow it by a comma. Okay? Now, who has questions? Do not hesitate asking. No questions? Okay. Now, this is what happens. If we mention the time of the beginning of a sentence, we don't usually punctuate weights and measures and references to numbers. For example, 4 kg, 10 m. 4 kg means 4 kilograms, 10 m means 10 meters, 5 m dollars means $5 million. Commas are used in numbers to indicate units of thousands and millions. 7,980, 11,487, 560. We use full stops, not commas, to indicate decimal points. 6.5, not 6,5. We can punctuate times with full stops or colons. The shop opens at 9, full stop 30, and this is a British English, or 9 colons 30. This is American English. Okay. We finished the most important rules of punctuation. Do not hesitate asking if you have questions. Who has a question? Don't hesitate asking. Who has a question?
Mr. Haider, please, we say 4 kilograms or 10 meters. Which one is the right one? By full words or just kg? I didn't get it. If, in my opinion, if I would write it, it doesn't mention in the question. Should I write $5 million or just 10 m or 5 kg?
Both are correct.
Both are correct. Okay.
Yes.
Please, we say 4 kilograms or 10 meters. Which one is the right one? By full words or just kg? I didn't get it.
Who has the questions?
If I would write it, it doesn't mention in the question. Should I write $5 million or just 10?
Do not hesitate asking.
Both are correct. Okay.
Okay. I'll stop sharing this page. And I'm going to start explaining about the letters. This is for general IELTS, how to write a letter. I just need a minute, less than a minute, to share. Okay. I'll stop sharing this page. Writing IELTS task 1, letter. General IELTS. We need to follow some certain steps. The opening, the details, the response or the action, the close. You will have such a question. You recently bought a camera while traveling overseas. When you go to your destination, you discover that some important items were missing from the box. Write a letter to the local representative of the company. In your letter, give details of the camera and where you bought. Explain what has happened. Say what you want him or her to do about it. So, the first thing, we will start with the opening. In the opening, since it's an official letter, Why? You are writing it here. They told you in the information, write a letter to the local representative of the company. You are writing it to a manager of some company. You are writing it to your professor. You are writing it to a doctor. You are writing it to a teacher. So it should be official here. So, and we don't know who the representative is. Could be a man, could be a woman. We don't have a name. So we write dear sirs. The D and the S should be capitalized, followed by a comma. Dear sirs. Then after that, we start writing our letter. We start with the opening. I'm writing in the hope that you can help me with a problem regarding a camera that I recently bought. What we write in the opening is what your letter is going to be about. What you write in the opening is what your letter is going to be about. And this is really important. Okay. Now, until this point, who has a question? Who has a question? Okay. Thank you very much. Now, let's move on. After writing the opening, we come to the most important thing, the second point, the details. The details. The details here, they asked you two questions about the details. Let's say they gave you 2 points. Give details of the camera and where you bought. Explain what has happened. On the 24th of April, I purchased a Tycoon digital SLR camera from the Golden Duty Free store at Bangkok Airport on my way from Auckland to London. The camera cost $599 and I paid for it on my Visa credit card. When I arrived at my hotel in London, almost 24 hours later, I discovered, to my horror, that the box which contained the camera did not include the battery or the battery charger. The space in the box for the charger was empty. Okay, I have just answered the 2 points. I explained about those 2 points. Give details for the camera and where you bought. Explain what has happened. Then, now we come to the action or the response. In the action or the response, you ask whom you are writing the letter to something to do. Here, for example, I'm now in London and I'm not returning to Bangkok. So I need to get the missing parts here. As you are the representative of the company in this country, I would be grateful if you could arrange for the parts to be sent to me. I attach a copy of the receipt with this letter for your information. This is step number 3, which is writing the action or the response. After that, we come to step number 4, which is this one, the close. How to enclose your letter. I look forward to verb ink form from you or whatever. For example, I look forward to hearing from you. Since it's official, we wrote yours faithfully. You may write yours sincerely. You may also write best regards. Okay, now let's come to it. If the letter is not official, you are writing it to a friend. You start with, for example, dear at the end, Instead of yours faithfully, yours sincerely, yours, best regards, you may write best wishes. And that is the informal one. Okay. Now, let's repeat. Let's repeat everything briefly. The letter is consisted of four parts: opening, details, action or response, and the close. In the opening, you explain to whom you are writing to, what you are going to write, what the letter is about. This is number one. Details. In the details, you just explain the details. Then, step number three, action or response. In the action or the response, you ask them what you want them to do. You ask whom you are writing to what you want the person to do. Then after that, you enclose your letter. You finish your letter. I look forward to plus verb ink form complement. Then, if it is official, that means to your manager, to for example, somebody in some company, or your teacher, your professor, your doctor, should be official. If you are writing it to a friend, is unofficial. If it is official, the last thing you write is, for example, yours faithfully, yours sincerely, or best regards. If it is unofficial, you may say best wishes. Okay, we have finished the letter. We have finished explaining how to write the letter. Don't hesitate asking me if you have any questions now. Who has a question? Who has a question? Yes, please. Who has a question? We have finished the letter. We have finished explaining how to write the letter. Don't hesitate. Yes. If you have any questions now. Who has a question? Nobody has a question? Yes, please. Who has a question? Okay. Since nobody is asking, I'm moving to speaking. Yes. Okay. Just a minute. I will share. How to improve your IELTS speaking. When you answer a speaking question in the IELTS test, answer it with the reason. For example, if the question asks you about the weather in your country, you need to mention the weather you like and the weather you dislike. That means the weather you don't like, with at least one reason. You also mention how the weather makes you feel, or what you do in that kind of weather. Or even you may mention the transportation problems. In short, you just need to develop your ideas and expand in your answer. Now, let's come to the main points of the speaking test for the IELTS. Vocabulary. You need to use a range of vocabulary for the topic you are answering. In the IELTS, we have a low band word score and a high band word score. For instance, when we answer a question about the weather using hot is a low band word score. Using scorching, sweltering, boiling is a high band word score. Okay, now, recommendations. 1. Fluency. The length of your answer, hesitations do not stop. The length of your answer, for example, where do you live? I live in Baghdad. And you be silent. No, Here you have just answered. You did not speak the answer. You did not uh for example, give a reason for the answer. Okay, everyone? Here, hesitations. How many and you say? How many times you pause while answering? This is called hesitation. Do not stop until they tell you, for example, but that does not mean to speak for a long time. For example, where do you live? I live in Baghdad. You start explaining about Baghdad. For example, you may say, Baghdad is the capital city of Iraq. It's famous for that thing. Uh, let's say it's a facilitated city. There are lots of for example, restaurants and these things. In case they stop you, don't keep on speaking. For example, they tell you, okay, thank you. Or they don't even tell you thank you sometimes. They just ask you. For example, where do you live? You start explaining, then they follow it up by another question. Uh, what's your opinion about that thing? For example, answer the other question. Don't keep on speaking. No. Okay. Vocabulary, range of words, using the right words. As we have just mentioned, grammar, range of tenses and less mistakes. Let's explain this point carefully. Less mistakes. I'll start with this one. For example, I've got a lot of jobs. This is wrong. You may say I've got a lot of work, because work here means I've got a lot of tasks to do. But I've got a lot of jobs. That means you've got different jobs to do. For example, you work as, let's say, I will give you something easy. For example, you work as a laborer. You work as a builder, I mean. You work as a chef. You work as, let's say, a waiter. You work as a salesperson. You work as a teacher. You work as a painter. All of them you do in one day. This is the meaning of a lot of jobs. That means you have different kinds of a job. But when you say, I've got a lot of work, this is the right word to be used here, which means you've got a lot of tasks within one kind of a job. Okay, for example, if you ask somebody, just like me, for example, who works in the language, I'm a teacher, okay. I'm a translator, that's okay, because it's related to the same kind of a job. I'm an interpreter, is also okay. I train that thing, that's okay. I have worked as that thing, is also okay. But if I say I'm a teacher, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm a painter, I'm a blah, blah, blah. No, that's the wrong thing to say here. Why? Because this means I've got a lot of different kinds of a job. Okay. Let's come to the range of tenses. This is really important because it increases your points. When you answer the IELTS test, speaking test, most of the questions are in one tense. For example, in simple present or simple past, most of the questions. That means you will use one tense only. You will get somehow not a high band score. I will give an example here. A simple question. How is the weather in your country? It's hot in summer and somehow cold in winter. For example, last month it was scorching that when you go out to the street, you feel that you are boiling. You feel the asphalt is sweltering under your feet. But next month, the weather will be something cool. It will be like spring weather. It will be fresh. Then in 2 months or 3 months, it will be somehow cold. Look, the answer here is very simple, but it's with a high band score. Why? I've got the opportunity to speak in different tenses. The question was in simple present, so I gave the answer. Firstly, I gave the answer in simple present. Sorry. After that, I had the opportunity, the chance to say something in the past. I gave it as an example. 1, 2, 3 sentences, no problem. Then I had the chance to give a sentence in the future. So I gave 2 or 3 sentences in the future. This is at least an excellent answer and could be perfect. Why? Because I used a range of vocabulary words here in one answer, or maybe in 2 different answers, no problem. Okay, this is what happens in the IELTS. I may have also said, if they ask me how is the weather in your country, it's hot in summer and cold in winter. Here is 0. You just answered. You did not explain the answer. You did not speak the language here. You just answered. And this is a big problem. This is a very important point to talk about. When you just answer, you get nothing for the IELTS. I mean, for the speaking. You need to pay attention for this point. When you just answer the speaking question, that means as if you did not answer. When I say you get 0, that does not mean 0, but you will get the lowest mark for the IELTS. Okay? Okay, sorry. I'm having a question by Mr. Qusay Ali. Yes, Mr. Qusay, you may ask. Mr. Qusay, yes, please. I can hear you. Okay, let's go on. Pronunciation. Word pronunciation sounds, intonation. Word pronunciation. That does not mean if you say it, let's say if you use British English, American English, Iraqi English, it's not a big deal. It's okay. For example, I will give an example. We have the word advertisement. Advertisement is in British. If you say advertisement, it's in American. So both are English. So it's correct. In the British English advertisement, in American English advertisement is also correct. Don't worry about this point. But worry about the other point, which is something different. For example, if you say instead of much, you say mush. No, this is a mistake. Instead of, for example, let's say watch, you may say wash. This is wrong. For example, if you say cylinder, you say cylinder. This is wrong. This is what they mean by word pronunciation. Sounds. Sounds, that means do not be flat with your sound. Try to play with the sound intonation, which means try to make it a bit louder, then softer, and stress the main word. For example, what's your name? My name is Haida. If you notice here, I stressed Haida and made it a bit louder. I did not speak flat. My name is Haida. I'm 42 years old. No, this is announcing. It's commentating. It's not speaking. Speaking is just like you are using your native language, but using another language. For example, what's your name? Or let's say talk about yourself. My name is Haida. I'm 42 years old. I live in Baghdad. I'm married. I've got 4 kids. They are blah, 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 and blah. Okay. If you notice here, there was a bit loudness here and on the main words. I changed the intonation here. That means I was a bit louder, then a bit softer with using the answers. Okay. Now, so far, any questions? Any questions? Don't hesitate asking. If you have questions, do not hesitate asking. Who has a question? No questions here? Okay. Thank you very much. Let's take an example. Now, let's explain more about speaking. The speaking test is divided into 3 parts. The first part, or part number 1, is related to some personal questions. Pay attention here. I'm saying personal, not a private. Personal questions. In part 2, you are going to be given 3 to 5 questions together, all together. You are going to be given a small paper, a sheet of paper. Dr. Abbas, you asked me about the cue card or key card, okay? That means part 2, when they give you the sheet of paper with a pencil, and they will give you 2 minutes to think. They will tell you, you may write notes if you like. Write notes. You may write 1, 2, 3 words, no problem, that you may use or related to the subject. Then you will be given 1 to 2 minutes to speak. You need to speak at least 1 minute, 10 seconds, at least 70 seconds. Okay, when you reach the time limit, 120 seconds, they will stop you. Okay, we will take an example about it. Then you will have part 3 questions. Part 3 questions, you will have questions related to part 2 somehow. Let's come to the examples. Part 1, what's your name? My name is John Chuck. Where do you come from? Where do you come from means where I'm from. I come from Turkey, Istanbul. It's the capital city of Turkey. It's a big city. The population is over 3 million and it's a very exciting city. There are a lot of shops, restaurants, bazaars, and a lot of tourist sites. But since it's the capital city, it's crowded and expensive. Okay, here for example, where do you come from? I come from Turkey, Istanbul. It's the capital city. They stop you by asking you, or they tell you thank you. Stop, don't continue, just stop. It's the capital city of Turkey. It's let's say for example, what are you doing at present? Don't keep on speaking, just stop. Okay, let's continue. What are you doing at present? I'm looking for work. Luckily, there are a lot of vacancies for my profession. I was working as a nurse, but it's a very hard job and I did that for 3 years. Then I stopped to study the master's and degree, and as I told you, I'm looking for employment right now. Now, let's come to part 2. Part 2 questions. You should talk about this topic for 1 to 2 minutes. You should say, what kind of a music do you like? What kind of a music is popular in your country? Why is the music important to us? When do you like to listen to music? Here, in part two questions, it's not important where to start your answer from. That means you may start from the first question, you may start from the second question, you may start from the third question if the other question is not related. For example, if one and if two is related to one, you can't start from number two. You need to start from number one. Let's come to the answers. Well, I like classical music and also folk music. Classical music is very relaxing and folk music is very interesting because it tells us about people's culture or history. I honestly don't listen to music much since I'm busy. I have a full-time job and I have to shop and cook and I like to read in my spare time. I usually listen to music at night in my bedroom. The Turks used to listen to Turkish music, but now they really like the Western style music and it's more popular. In fact, a lot of the music that young people in Turkey listen to is in English, though. Okay, I want you to focus on some points here. Firstly, I answered the entire questions, all the questions with explaining them. This is number one. Number two, I had a chance to use a different tense and I did. Okay, now let's move to part three. For example, how would you define music? It's a very difficult question, but in my opinion, it's a language without words. Music is the only unique language that can be understood worldwide. Just imagine that you are listening to a sad Italian music without understanding it. You will get sad. Or you are listening to happy Spanish music. You will get happy without getting what it's actually saying. So, we can say that music is the language of hearts. You don't have to understand it. You should just feel it. Okay. Now, if you have any questions, do not hesitate asking. Who has a question? If you have any questions, do not hesitate asking. Who has a question? I'm waiting for your questions if you have. If you have any questions, do not hesitate asking. Who has a question? If you have any questions, do not hesitate asking. Who has a question? No questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much for attending this lecture. I wish that everybody got the honestly, I wish and hope that everybody got the utility of this lecture. Wish you all the best. For further information, if you have any questions regarding the IELTS, ask me. You may ask me any day you like. If I know the answer, I will answer you. If I don't know the answer, I will tell you that I don't know the answer and I will apologize for that, but I will look for the answers that I don't know from the others. Do not hesitate asking me. Who has a question? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. That was Mr. Haidar Al-Qasir. Wish you all the best with your IELTS test, and bye, everyone. wish you all the best with your IELTS test, and